How's it going, YouTube? This is The Board coming at you week 1 of the NFL playoffs. Got a full slate for you today. As always, I'm Steven.
I'm Jacob.
Nick.
Shane.
Dom.
This week we got 4 wildcard games. Got to start off with Raiders at Texans in Houston.
And then following that with Dolphins at the Steelers.
We got a good game in Green Bay with Giants against Packers.
We followed up with the Lions at Seattle.
We'll go through our game-by-game predictions and we'll go over our power rankings. I personally got, this is tough, I'm a Raider fan, but I think the Raiders and Texans, obviously in Houston, Matt McGloin didn't show up in Denver, so I mean,
Did you expect him to show up?
Yeah, no, I
What
didn't
did you
really expect him to show up
What did you
either,
expect
but
of Mac McClure?
McLovin.
I mean, he got rocked. Connor Cook did way better than he did. So
By
they,
far.
they did announce that Connor Cook's going to be starting in Houston.
Risky.
It is a struggle though. Both teams do not have a starting quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at those
But
two teams.
I think the defense, it's going to come down to defense, and the Texans have the number 1 defense. So
Yeah,
I agree.
That's no contest.
I have the Texans winning it.
Yeah, I got Texans.
Texans.
My Texans winning it as well.
I actually have the Raiders
Wow.
taking this one.
Upset.
Loner.
I mean,
Lone Wolf.
look, rookie quarterback, first start against the number 1 defense. Yeah, that's a little sketchy.
Yeah, that's
It's
pretty
not an
bad.
ideal situation, but
And it's not like Connor Cook though was like drafted to start either though.
that's
So-
true.
He's not a scrub though.
If he does well,
Okay, no one in the NFL is really a scrub. If you
Yeah,
put
I
it that
agree
way.
with that.
Well.
Johnny.
That okay, we'll say that for
Well,
later.
he's
But
not
if
in the
Cook-
NFL.
If Cook does well in a playoff game,
I think he
that's
could do-
really going to drive up his
I
trade
think he
stock.
could do decent enough to get past in this round. Honestly, I mean the running game has been pretty efficient the last second half of the season. They have a three-headed monster there. Jalen Richard has been coming on strong the last few weeks as receiving back in the flat. I think it could be a good game.
I think it's the third
I
best
think it's
game
gonna be
of the
competitive. And
Out of 4 games.
week.
Yeah.
All right. After that, we got the Chiefs and Steelers, or not Chiefs and Steelers. Sorry, the Steelers and Dolphins. I have the Steelers winning that game at home against the Dolphins with Matt Moore at quarterback or Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, Adam Gase did say that it's not ruled out Tannehill plays.
I agree. The Steelers got this one. I think it's gonna be a blowout.
Blowout.
Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. The only thing the Dolphins have that really competes is their running game.
Yeah, I got the Steelers, and this is going to be Tannehill's first playoff game, I believe. Going into Pittsburgh, I don't think, especially with the Steelers' big 3 being healthy, I don't see them pulling it off on the road.
Yeah, I got the Steelers winning this one too. Defense has been a little shaky, but that offense, can you stop? No one can stop that offense. Just too strong, especially Dolphins, not a lot of experience in the playoffs. Kind of been up and down this season. They did make it in, but I just think Steelers is too much for them.
even with a healthy Ryan Tannehill, I don't see Miami getting out of Pittsburgh alive with this one. I think 11th overall total offense, 10 points, 372 yards per game. Like they have that trio there. I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. Le'Veon Bell has been arguably the best back since coming out
Yeah,
offense.
probably my personal favorite game of this week, Giants at Packers.
Definitely
Definitely.
game of the week
Definitely.
right there.
I like that one.
That's a tough one. Tesson, who you want to start off?
I have the Giants taking down the Packers
Wow.
in Green Bay.
Well, you were wrong last
You
time.
also
but-
have the Giants taking it all, so
I do believe the Giants will take it all. So I believe the winner of this game will make it to the championship game.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl or the NFC Championship?
the NFC Championship.
Okay.
Yeah. Cowboys are weak in the playoffs this year. No playoff experience.
Who you got? Giants, Packers.
I'm gonna have to go with Packers. They're hot right now. Aaron Rodgers cannot lose in a must-win game. It's just,
Yeah.
he's hot. Good looking.
I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me either way. The Giants are one of those teams that could just do anything in the playoffs. I mean, their defense has been pretty hot,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I want to say Packers, but I think the Giants are going to pull off the upset in this one. I'm sorry.
I wonder who Shane's picking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder. Yeah, I'm going with my Packers on this one. I think Aaron Rodgers has been hot, white hot to be exact. My eyes, probably the most deserving MVP candidate out there. Probably
No
not.
bias. No bias.
No
with
bias
Shane's,
at all.
That's with this pick.
They beat the Giants earlier in the season. It was kind of before the Packers offense is really clicking and the Giants defense is really clicking. So we'll see how this goes. I think it's just going to be a really, really tough game. But I think the Packers can win this one.
I got the Giants. I just really like the way that defense has been playing the last second half of the season. I think they finished second in points allowed, and they're just clicking on all cylinders. Yeah, their run game hasn't been very existent this entire season, but Paul Perkins he's been better than
Packers
Rashawn
He's
Jennings.
been a decent fit.
Yeah, like
Packers running game
70,
isn't too good
70
either.
rushing yards for the last 4 weeks or so of the season.
The Giants have a better run game than the Packers, though. They have a receiver.
Hey,
No,
okay.
heavy
no, they
receiver.
don't.
Ty-
No, they
okay,
don't.
yeah.
No, they
Even
don't.
though Ty Montgomery is a converted back, he has averaged above 4.5 yards per carry in the rush. Like before last week, I don't know what he finished with last week. He had 470 yards before then, and that. So I mean,
But
yeah.
can you trust
I
the
like
guy?
Ty Montgomery, honestly. I really do. Like coming into the draft, and we'll get into that later, but I wouldn't be surprised if they roll with Ty for another season. I really wouldn't. But
No, I don't think so.
on another note, though, I like the way
It's
the
another
Giants are going.
discussion.
I think Eli Manning never lost in the playoffs. I don't think it's gonna. I mean, but he hasn't played Aaron Rodgers. I think it's gonna be a slugfest, honestly.
Yes, we
I really
do.
do. I think
Yeah, he's beat Rodgers.
he's beat.
Yep.
Oh, he's
When the
beat
Packers
Rodgers.
went 15-1 in 2011,
And the
Nice.
Giants
they
won
swept
right
them at home.
beat the Patriots. For the
Oh, that was his
second.
MVP year, huh?
Yeah.
Matt Flynn with that week
They went
16 game.
15-1, clinched the 1 seed, and then lost to the division.
Matt Flynn got $35 million out
For the
of that game.
Chiefs.
Remember that?
Yeah.
But yeah, Giants. I like the way defense is playing. I think that Odell. I like Sterling Shepard a lot. You know I love Sterling.
Alright.
I think they're gonna do enough.
Don, you want to start off Lions at Seahawks? Who you got?
Lions at Seahawks. I got the Hawks. It's just such a hostile environment to go into that stadium and try to get a dub, especially in playoff time. I think their defense, even though it's been lacking in the run category this year, I think that pass defense is good enough, and the Lions don't really have a run game
True.
anyways. And I like Russell Wilson is always good come playoff time.
Yeah, I got the Seahawks winning this against the Lions. Seahawks secondary has kind of been vulnerable to deep ball lately. Just this past game with the Packers and Lions, Matthew Stafford was able to take advantage of the Packers secondary a little bit. He's having a really good year, so I think he can help them the most out of this. But I just think at home for Seattle, that crowd and that environment, it's hard for any team to go in there and win. I think Seahawks can win this one.
Yeah, I think you guys said a lot of what I was thinking. I just don't see the Lions going into Seattle and beating them.
Yeah, I'm with all you guys. I think we could all agree that Seahawks are going to take this one. The Lions could only win in close games, but I don't think it's going to be a close game. The Seahawks are going to run away with it.
I also have the Seahawks beating the Lions. I've been to CenturyLink. I know.
Safeco.
I know the environment. Even when it was a regular season game against a team without a win, the crowd, it was the most deafening crowd I've ever been in my life.
No, it's pretty
So
awesome.
I can't even imagine what playoff atmosphere is, considering that I've been to that sort of game. But yeah, so anyways, I have the Seahawks beating the Lions, without a doubt.
Alrighty, we will be transitioning to our NFL headlines for this coming up week. First off, Adam Pac-Man Jones. Another run-in with the law.
What did he do again?
He got in a fight.
Yeah, shocker.
He got arrested.
That's no surprise.
Bar or
Poor
club?
guy.
Was it a bar or a club?
I think it was a club.
Club. Got into a fight. Spit on a nurse. So.
Yeah. Kind of
Always-
surprising.
He's
been
always
That's
doing
pretty
something.
He's
disgusting.
been
Yeah.
removed from the league before, and the Bengals have kind of promoted him to a captain, like leadership role. He's kind of been a mentor for some of those young guys on the team, but
Wow.
Oh, it's shown.
old habits die hard, I guess.
Six-
Yeah,
10 record.
seriously.
Hate to see it.
Wow. I mean,
I guess
You
that's
gotta
what
s-
happens when you miss the playoffs. Tempers flare.
you gotta wonder how.
How much you can take.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say, I mean, how hard Goodell's gonna come down on him.
Yeah.
I mean, He's been on a rampage.
We all know Rodgers
Deflategate,
not
Aldon
doesn't shy.
Smith.
Yeah, he does not shy away from
He's
throwing
on
a
the power
suspension
trip.
flag at everyone.
Yeah. Next headline: the Raiders announcing Connor Cook will be starting over Matt McGloin. Personally, not a shocker to me. I don't think
I think
McGloin
it's,
did
I think it's a
anything.
good idea.
Yeah, I
Matt
think-
McGloy was just flinging it up there.
Yeah, Connor Cook. I
He
think-
had no touch on the ball that last game.
Yeah.
Let's say the Raiders are lucky he got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. I mean, who would you rather have in this? Brock Osweiler or Connor Cook?
Honestly,
J.J. Watt.
JJ Dontari Poe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have
He's-
J.J. Watt.
can I say neither? Like,
I've never.
just the fact that both those teams got to the playoffs, considering the quarterback situation, even though the Raiders had Carr the whole season, that's
Right.
why they got to the playoffs. But I don't see them moving forward.
But I mean, Brock didn't play that bad last week. 252 yards and like 2 touchdowns.
I think
Yeah,
he's-
he was 21
he's
of
learned
40,
his
but
lesson.
like, I mean, it's better than him throwing for 90 yards and 3 picks. Like
I've had
we've
him all
seen.
fantasy
but-
season,
That's true.
and I know the struggle of Brock. Even though fantasy has nothing to do with this game, Brock Osweiler still has not lived up to his contract.
I
whatsoever.
think he just needed to be benched for a couple games and learn his lesson.
Yeah, but I don't even think. Let's say he did snap out. I don't think this is a good enough test. I mean, the Raiders
Yeah.
secondary is pretty pathetic. I don't
Exactly.
think you can see him throwing 300 yards against the Raiders and being like, "Wow, Brock's back." Like it's the
Brock's
Raiders
back.
secondary.
Did he
Yeah.
ever start?
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I know.
he's a decent amount of Broncos,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy's played in a playoff game before.
And got
I see where you guys are coming from,
Yeah.
where you like the Texans in this matchup. I still think the Raiders will pull it out, but it's a toss-up, honestly.
fingers
We'll
crossed.
see what happens.
Next headline is just recently released. Devin Hester signs with the Seahawks. What do you guys take? On
I
this?
wasn't. I mean, I don't think
I didn't.
anyone saw that.
I thought he
coming.
retired.
Yeah, I thought
No,
he was
honestly, I
retired.
didn't. Like,
I think it's a good move because Seattle did have a couple people injured that were the returners, including Tyler Lockett, who snapped his leg.
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
he was getting late.
Really
in the
bad
season.
for that
He was
guy.
getting hot late in the season.
So Devin Hester, veteran return man, who at one point was the absolute top returner of.
Ever.
Yeah, he still might be considered the best returner ever because he has the most touchdowns.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He
think
does.
his time has
So-
passed.
He's not what he once was.
He's
but-
definitely not what he
Yeah.
once was, but he can still do it for a couple games
yeah, we'll see.
with only being a returner, not playing wide receiver, and getting hit every play. So
It's
Yeah.
gonna be something interesting to watch.
I think it was a good move. Next NFL headline: Vince Wilfork considering retirement.
Sad day.
I always liked Vince.
I think
Ever since he got a pick against the Chargers,
Yeah.
the tackle getting the pick, I was like, oh,
It's an AC
I
championship.
hate seeing it, but it was fun to watch, and I've always respected him because he's a competitor. He's 35 years old, D tackle. That's,
And he's still ahead of.
Great
He's
guy
still
to have
one
in
of
the
the top
locker room,
10
too.
D tackles.
I think he's gonna want to. I think personally he's gonna stay for one more year.
Yeah.
I think he wants to see him, Watt, and Jadavion all on this,
Oh,
all
man.
healthy.
Oh, that's one.
That's
heck
one
of a
crazy
line right
defensive
there.
line.
Big defensive line.
I don't know if it's possible to not be a fan of Vince Wilfork.
Yeah.
He's a good
That's
guy.
true. Yeah, coming from a Patriots fan, I was hurt when he left, but I still got respect for the guy.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. He's got quite a bit to decide for next year.
he's got some time to think about it.
Yeah. Next up, all the coaching vacancies. So first off, we got the Chargers.
Recently released
We
Mike
got recently
McCoy.
released. I bet you're happy,
Good
aren't
move.
you?
Yeah, good
I'm
move.
So happy.
I don't think that was a good move, honestly.
Mike McCoy.
I liked Mike McCoy.
I liked him
think-
for 3 quarters.
I think the Chargers' problem was injuries. If they didn't get so many injuries, they would have won some more
no.
games.
There's a
He had some
problem.
questionable calls.
It gets to a problem when you lose more than 4 games in the
He
fourth
couldn't
quarter.
he couldn't keep a lead, but
Yeah,
I
but that's a
imagine-
huge deal.
I
as a
imagine if he
coach.
had some of those injured players back, it would.
he went 9-23 the past 2 seasons.
I think he deserved one more. I mean,
9
they
and
have
23.
21 players on injury.
The
reserve.
Chargers have a competitive team. You cannot go 9-23 and expect to keep your job.
They had so many
They
injuries.
have no
I'm-
fan
You
base.
give them a healthy team in one more draft.
Every game is an away game.
One more draft.
That's what happens when you never win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
One more draft.
His
All
best
healthy
season
players.
was 9-7.
One more draft. All healthy players, and take into consideration he's playing in the best division of football.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
Chargers just aren't willing though to give someone
It's a
another
win now
opportunity
mentality,
like that.
Steve in San Diego.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't know. I would have given him one more chance.
It's hard to rely on like the if scenario if they were healthy. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen teams with the most players on IR and still win a Super Bowl. Got the Giants a few years ago, Packers before that. But I just think you look at that team and there's just so much talent to not be able to win more than what
More than five games
four or
in that
five
last
games
two
the last
seasons.
couple seasons.
Like-
I don't know.
I think just 9-23 is just too bad of a record to
Yeah.
give him.
I do like the consideration for your coordinators,
I honestly
Josh
don't like
McDaniels,
coordinators, yeah.
and
I wish
my
that the
favorite
Patriots would keep
candidate,
them.
early candidate. I don't know how serious it is. The report is of what's his name?
Matt
Matt
Patricia.
There it is.
I
Matt
love
Patricia. Look,
Great
trade
guy.
away two of your top talents on that side of the ball, and you still finish first in points allowed. It's pretty
That's
good.
pretty good. That's a good resume.
Also, it's
right
hard
there.
not to love the I think what the Chargers need is that fiery, just that
Yeah.
character, like a charismatic coach, not someone who's just gonna stand there.
Basically, Philip at head coach.
There you
Yeah.
go,
Maybe.
something like that. And yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Just another thing to point to the offensive coordinator. Tom Brady came out and said he wouldn't be the player he is today without Josh McDaniels
Yeah.
as his
Oh,
offensive
Josh
coordinator.
Fantastic.
McDaniels is a smart man. What was he going to be, a rocket scientist? And then
Yeah.
he decided to give up his
Wow.
his degree basically to become a head coach at some no-name school, and
Mhm.
look where he is now.
Wow.
that's a bold
Best offensive
move.
statement coordinator in football.
McDaniels did leave the Patriots at one time to coach the Broncos. and
Yeah.
didn't turn out so well. And then he did
That's true.
come back. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, he's probably learned a lot in his time, but
Yeah.
no, I think
I'm sure you
he's-
could learn a lot from Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of tips
Yeah.
and pointers you could pick up.
Next on the list, we got the Jags coaching situation.
No real update. I mean, we touched on that last
Yeah.
week. Tom Coughlin, not
I
really.
still like Tom
Said
Coughlin.
said they interviewed Tom Coughlin. We haven't really gotten more information about that, but the Jags really, whichever coach they get there, they're not. I don't think they should be expecting much success.
They have talent though. That's the annoying part. They have some.
We'll get to
talent.
that later. That's one of my teams that underwhelmed this year
Yeah.
for me.
Bills, no candidates been released yet. Rams, the Sean Payton rumor.
Just going back on the Bills real quick, that organization is in complete turmoil. Like, the fact that your general manager had no idea that you were going to fire the head coach kind of speaks volume to how you're running in the
Trust.
communication in the
The Bills should have made the playoffs this year.
The Bills
They-
have
they
had
have
the Bills have
all-
had a talented team for
A
the
very,
last
very
4-5
talented team.
years.
They could have one of the best defenses in the league, and their offense was amazing this year, with LaShawn McCoy leading.
That's
That-
true.
That team had 2,600 rushing yards for the whole team.
Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
They're non-committal on a Pro Bowl quarterback on their roster. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's what I don't get. I mean, yeah, they're saying that Tyrod Taylor did have a groin injury, and then they're not sure about sticking with him, but they've never committed to him day one,
No.
and he's performed well for that team.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're
well enough for
they're-
them to give him a $96 million
They're
contract
a
extension.
run-first offense,
And they still bench him.
and he's still performing.
Tyrod was
Yeah.
said he was
I will
pretty
never
mad
understand
about
why they always consider EJ Manuel an option.
that. Yeah.
No, yeah,
Why?
because he was a 16th overall pick in the draft 2 years
Congrats.
ago.
There have been so many
So
busts
bad.
in the
I bet.
league. Like, why do you have to keep going back to
I
him?
bet Rick Schrein was laughing when they put him. Anyways.
So back to Rams.
back to the Rams.
There's been some rumors of Sean Payton leaving the Saints organization to come to LA.
I'd like to see it.
I don't think it'll happen.
I don't think it'll
that's-
happen, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to see an actually good coach.
Yeah.
What was wrong with Jeff Fisher?
He was a defensive coordinator as a head
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
He was the most defensive-minded coach, and his offense showed it.
Did he
It
call
was
the plays on offense?
horrible.
Or was he his
I'm
offense?
pretty sure he
Like,
called
he had a
the
hand in
plays.
there, or he was a
He
slight
definitely had a
offense?
hand in there.
Yeah.
It was,
But for the Saints side, if Sean Payton were to lose, that would probably hurt Drew Brees' draft stock. Sean Payton is. I feel Sean Payton is a lot to credit to the Saints' success.
that's true.
For sure.
Yeah.
Any head coach for any team's success is gonna.
Get some
Well,
right.
get
Yeah,
some
remember
credit.
when he was suspended
Well-
for the season a few years ago?
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
I think they made the playoffs the year before, and then they had like a 7. They started the season like 0-5, and they ended
Yeah.
like 7-9.
Yeah.
Drew Brees had one of his worst seasons ever,
Yeah.
and then when he came back, they made the playoffs again.
So, I mean, in theory, if Sean Payton goes to LA, Goff would be the next Drew Brees.
In theory.
Theoretically. I
And
mean.
theoretically,
That'd be pretty
In
cool.
theory. Next up, we got the Broncos head coaching vacancy. Kind of sad to see Gary Kubiak step
Yeah.
down.
It's just a shame.
Yeah, he was
When
a
a
good.
coach has stepped down from health problems.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
He was a good guy too. I mean, he was a really classy man. Top two candidates, we got Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, and then Kyle Shanahan, the offensive coordinator for the Falcons.
Kyle Shanahan's had a really good year over there with the Falcons. They
Kyle
have been-
Shanahan's definitely going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I think if out of all of these coaching vacancies, I think Kyle Shanahan's most definite to sign somewhere else.
wouldn't he be following his dad's footsteps? Shanahan used to coach the
Mike
Giants.
Shanahan.
Or Mike Shanahan
Yeah.
used to coach the Broncos.
Yeah.
Yeah, will he follow
Something-
his dad's
something to
footsteps?
think
Maybe.
about.
Could happen.
We'll see.
His dad won 2 Super Bowls as the Broncos coach too.
Did.
The whole way.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And then our favorite, Chip Kelly, is no more.
He
Thank
did
God.
say he's open to becoming an offensive coordinator at his next location, but that's
That wouldn't. Chip Kelly's
I think he
offensive
would be a
coordinator
good
wouldn't be
offensive
bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
His
think he'd be a
offense-
good
'cause-
offensive coordinator.
And it doesn't help that he literally didn't have a quarterback for like the
He was
entire
just he was
season.
put
No
in a
wide-
really crappy situation,
Yeah.
trying to
No-
make the best of it.
no
and-
wide receivers, hardly an offensive line. What can
half
he-
half his defense retired.
He does
Alright.
have a really good track record with running backs, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
They have
Carlos
running
Hyde
quarterbacks.
and LaShawn McCoy. I mean, he did pretty well with those guys.
That's very true. Alrighty, before we go on to our fantasy section of the show, we're going to go back, look at our playoff power rankings. This one was a collaborated effort between all 5 of us. We got our personal ones, and we also have our averages based on our personal preferences. Unanimous across the board. Number 1 was the Patriots, which I know one of us is happy, one of us is. I think the other 4 of us are cringing. Number 2, pretty interesting. It was almost unanimous. Cowboys got 4 out of 5 for 2, and then Nick put them at 3. The
think
Elliott and
I-
Dak fan of all people.
I think the Falcons are really strong in this playoffs. So at 3 we have the Falcons, which I voted actually to be number 2, and others thought otherwise, with them being as low as 7.
I don't think they're that good. I think they should be at 7. I don't think. I just don't see them beating half these teams in the playoffs.
The Falcons were good enough to get a first round bye.
I know, but I just.
I guess we'll have to see.
I don't know. I think
I
playoff.
guess we'll have to see. in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
come playoff time, I don't think they're going to be the same.
At 4 we have the Chiefs. I think they're just as high because they did get a first round bye, meaning they were one of the top 4 teams in the league. So them being 4 is pretty explainable.
Yeah, I think they're beatable. You look at all, like, half their wins came off of, fluke things. Not to sound, no offense, no
Right.
disrespect to the
Kickoff
Chiefs, but
returns,
Right.
or
the
punt
Eric,
returns.
Yeah.
Berry, Tyreek Hill, his punt returns,
Oh,
Eric
pick
Berry's,
6 on a 2-point conversion.
yeah, it's just like there's so many times they should have been beat. So will they get that same luck in the playoffs? I don't see it happening.
I don't know if it's all luck. They have a very talented squad, a good defense. Their offense is, Alex Smith is throwing the ball downfield, which is nice to see.
Yeah,
They're getting
he
Travis
stepped up
Kelce
this year.
involved, but
We actually came up with a 3-way tie for number 5 is Seahawks, Packers, and Steelers.
Yeah.
We couldn't really find to put one ahead of the others. I
All
think
3 of those teams can compete, so
It was definitely a wide range. I have the Seahawks at 3 and Dom has them at 9. It was a pretty.
Yeah. It's
wide
on like
variety
honestly
there.
with all those teams like after those top 4 like other than the Giants who I'm really high on like they're all kind of in the same boat. The Texans, Raiders, and Dolphins are all towards the bottom of our list just because of quarterback issues and question marks there. But I think all the teams from around 8 up, you can easily make a case for anything can happen. It's
Oh, yeah,
playoffs.
definitely.
We'll see.
Yeah, next we got the Giants, which is weird to see them this low because some of us have them ranked or able to actually win the Super Bowl this year. So to see them down as low as 8 is pretty surprising.
Yeah, that's me. I definitely have the Giants as my sleeper team these playoffs.
And following them is we got the Lions, which I don't expect too much to come out of them.
Yeah.
And the Texans, the Raiders, and the Dolphins obviously holding up the bottom of the table.
You can toss those any way you want. It's all 10, 11, 12, all the same thing.
Exactly.
Now that the playoff pictures, we all have our brackets. Tennessee, you want to start off real quick? Your NFC champion, your AFC champion, and your Super Bowl champion.
I have the Patriots Giants, the Giants winning it.
Actually, I'm pretty high on the Falcons this year. I think it's going to be Patriots Falcons. It's going to be a pretty offensive Super Bowl, but the Patriots going to take it this year.
I have a third matchup, Giants Patriots, and I think third time's the charm for Brady. I think he's gonna win.
Wow. I've got Patriots Packers with the Packers winning it.
Patriots Giants.
No bias there.
Patriots Giants. Just
So we got
That's it.
3 Patriots,
Patriots
and
win.
Giants and
Patriots
Packers
win.
here.
all right. So next up we got fantasy players. Starting off with Jacob. Who's your surprise player of the season?
My surprise fantasy player of the season is Jordan Howard. He did break the Bears rookie rushing record with 1,313 yards, previously held by Matt Forte. He also had 1,600 all-purpose yards and 7 touchdowns, which, as a rookie in that Bears system,
Yeah.
that's really impressive. So my surprise fantasy player is definitely Jordan Howard.
I think he's shocked most people. He finished second in the league in rushing.
Especially
Yeah.
especially with a
Rushing
team that the offensive line wasn't great there. He's dealing with an offensive line that let Jace Cutler get sacked at least I don't even know how many times the last few seasons.
And they didn't
but-
have any passing games, so it's kind of weird to think that defenses didn't just pack the
Yeah,
box.
even with
So-
they know what's
Yeah.
coming with Matt Barkley under
Yeah, he
center,
still
he
ran
still had a very good year.
I see a
Disrespect
bright
Matt
year for him
Barkley,
next
love
year.
you. Fight on.
Yeah, next I have as my surprise player, I've got Devontae Adams. He finished with 75 receptions, 997 yards, 12 touchdowns, which was good for second in the league, behind Jordy Nelson.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Just last season, he finished as Pro Football Focus's second worst receiver in the league. I think he was tops and drops. He was hurt a majority of the season, but just didn't play well. He had a strong offseason and played really well all season long. He did have some struggles with some drops, but considering where he started from last season, I think he's definitely on the up. Considering he's a second round pick too, so they do have high expectations from him.
My surprise fantasy player is Dak Prescott. He led my fantasy team into the playoffs as the number 2 seed, but unfortunately lost there. He finished as the 6th best quarterback, and he was drafted 4th round to the Cowboys. They were unhappy. They actually wanted to draft Cody Kessler, but the Browns took him from him.
Wow.
Well,
I also heard they wanted to take Connor Cook too.
yeah, they probably wanted any of the quarterbacks before them, but I'm sure they're happy with what they got now. He averaged almost 18 fantasy points this year, and was actually 8th overall in fantasy and standard scoring leagues.
It's pretty good. My surprise fantasy player this year was Mike Evans. I mean, he finished in our scoring system, which is not PPR. It's a little different, but it's pretty standard. He finished number 1 overall. I mean, he had 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. It was. I expected him to be good. I expected him to be like a top.
I called him actually being better than Odell this year.
Yeah,
that's true.
it's very true. I pictured him being in the 10-12 range. I didn't.
I
Maybe
pictured him
top
top
10.
10.
Maybe top 10. But I didn't see number 1, so and he's one of my keepers, so I'm pretty happy right now.
Yeah. Considering where he was at last year with 3 touchdowns, and
Yeah.
for a guy who was that big, there's no real excuse for him not to be targeting more in the end zone than he was. But like you said, him and Jameis progression were both really, really, really 9 and 7 competing for that team, considering that they were the worst team in the league 2 years ago. It's pretty impressive. So kudos to general manager in Tampa making moves. My surprise fantasy player was Tyrell Williams. I finished 17th in the league in receiving. For an undrafted second-year player, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns is not too shabby. Granted, his stock probably did rise because of the Keenan Allen injury, as well as the Travis Benjamin. Travis Benjamin, considering when Keenan Allen went down and thinking Travis Benjamin was going to step up and be Philip Rivers' number 1 target, it was really Tyrell Williams who was the most consistent player across the board throughout the rest of the way. Benjamin finished 59th, so seems like maybe Chargers might find a gem in the consolation draft.
Yeah.
So we're close on time here, but we can go quickly here. Disappointing fantasy players. Dom, you want to start us off?
DeAndre Hopkins, as I'm sure a lot of players, a lot of teams across, and a lot of people. Very disappointing. Much of that because of inconsistent quarterback play, but when you go to 954 yards after 1,500 last year and 11 touchdowns with I'm blanking on his name right now. Who was a quarterback last year?
Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer.
Ryan Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer could give him 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. I thought Brock Osweiler could at least do that. Maybe at least give him some more touches, but just didn't work out. But we'll see what happens.
worked out
Still
when Tom
young, still
Savage
has
was
loads
there.
of talent. It could be. Hopefully, it's an anomaly.
My disappointing fantasy player is Doug Martin. He averaged 2.9 yards per carry this season, which was the worst among starting running backs, and he's following a top 5 fantasy season. So anytime you go from top 5 to literally worst,
He's not even gonna play
that's
football
not-
next
that's
year, is
not a
he?
good
Or who
season.
knows?
Yeah.
He's taking
It's
time away.
unlikely.
Yeah, mine this year's got to be Alshon Jeffrey. I mean, he was 54th amongst receivers this year in fantasy. He had only 2 touchdowns. 821 yards isn't bad, but a receiver of his caliber, I mean, you got to expect more than that.
Yeah.
Twice that.
He missed 3 games due to injury, but still, I mean,
And suspension.
Yeah, suspension.
So
it was a
Suspension,
suspension. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Even you give him those 3 games back, he just definitely underperforms.
My disappointing player, I am wearing the jersey right now, but the games that Rob Gronkowski did play, he actually put up a lot of points. He played 6 games and scored about 15 points a game. But overall, he averaged 4.5 points a game and ended up being 22nd among tight ends. You can't really blame that on him because he missed it due to injury, but disappointing in my eyes.
My disappointing player, Cam Newton. I drafted him in the 3rd round this year. He had his worst statistical season of his career. It's right after his MVP performance. Finished with 3,500 yards, 24 total touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Just not something you expect from an MVP.
They need to get some talent around them, man.
Yeah.
Give him a running back. Give him another wide receiver.
Something.
Let's knock these last 2 categories out real quick. We got our surprise teams, our disappointing teams. My surprise team, the Chargers. I know they're 5-11, but I think I know I said it before. I think you give them all their players healthy, and I mean, look at their division. They were in the best division in football. I think for all their circumstances, I know their record doesn't show it, but I think they were a lot better than anyone expected.
I have the Falcons being my surprising team. The second in total offense, Tevin Coleman, Devonta Freeman. Tevin Coleman could have easily started on any other team. Their defense, maybe not as bright as could have been, but they had the league's leader in sacks of 15.5 with Vic Beasley.
Considering they had one of the worst pass rushes in the game a couple seasons ago,
Mhm.
having
Very-
the league leader in sacks and Vic Beasley,
Very surprising.
pretty good production out of it so far.
My surprising team is the Giants. Their defense just way overperformed than
Oh, yeah.
anyone thought
They
they
closed
would.
out the year really well.
They were 3rd in rushing yards allowed, 2nd in points per game allowed, and they win in big games. They also beat the Cowboys twice for the 1 seed in the NFC.
Only 2 losses.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, into the Redskins.
Oh, they lost the Eagles last
Yeah.
week.
And this is their first year under their new coach Ben McAdoo, so I think he's
Yeah.
doing a stand-up job.
Yeah, exactly. I think they backed up the money that they spent in free agency as well. There's a lot of question marks, but those guys played well.
Yeah, my surprising team is the Miami Dolphins. Finished season 10-6. Pretty tough division they were in too. But I don't think anyone really saw Jay Ajayi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Came out
Yeah.
great
Throwing
this year.
200-yard games. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, especially they didn't finish too high in any one particular category, but they just played really good team football, and just fact, this is the first time they made the playoffs in I don't know how many years.
It's been a while.
I think the last one was like 2008 or something. They
Yeah,
made the
it's been a
playoffs. Don't know if they'll win this weekend, but just a good progression from that
Right.
team.
My surprise team was the Lions, and I think a lot of that was due to Matt Stafford's play. His numbers not necessarily eye-popping, 4,300 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. But if you look at it, his QBR of 70.7 was the highest since his rookie year, 60.2. I mean, the guy, while being a top 10 most sacked quarterback in the line and not essentially having a non-existent run game, I mean, he's made the most. Marvin Jones had an outstanding year, and so did Golden Tate. Had solid production across the board. So, I think the Lions opened a lot of people's eyes in a division that we thought was all for Packers.
Last but not least, disappointing teams. We'll knock this out really quick. Vikings started 5-0 and went 3-8 their next, or 3-8 their final 8 games. Pretty disappointing.
Yeah. Mine is the Panthers. They went from barely losing the Super Bowl to missing playoffs with not even a lot of injuries on their roster. So it was just poor performance. And they finished the league with 21st in passing yards. Cam Newton cannot have that from coming from an MVP season. So it was just very disappointing.
My disappointing team was New York Jets. They finished 10-6 last year, barely missing the playoffs. I for sure thought they were going to be a hot team this year with Brandon Marshall and Ryan Fitzpatrick. It was very thought otherwise because Ryan Fitzpatrick did not have the year I expected, and Brandon Marshall had a mediocre year. They finished off 5-11. Very sad.
My disappointing team, Arizona Cardinals, finished 7-8-1. You look at this team. You look at the talent on both sides of the ball on this team. They finished 6th in offensive points, 9th in yards, 2nd in yards allowed. Just not something you expected. Last season they were being argued as going into this season as the Super Bowl favorite. Just kind of shocked that they didn't finish.
I expected a lot more of them too. Mine was the Jags. A lot of young talent on both sides of that ball. Essentially had 3 first-round picks, like first-round talents with Dante Fowler coming off injury, Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack. But it just never really got together. Last year they had 2 1,000-yard receivers and 10 touchdown receivers in Allen Hurns and Allen Robinson. But Blake Bortles, 58% completion percentage. He still has a turnover problem, and maybe the head coach can get it around because you can't deny that team has talent. They just got to tap into
They
it.
played well their last game too.
Yeah, exactly. They have the potential. It's just got to put it all into practice and learn how to win.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with Jags.
Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you for watching this week of The Board. Give us a follow on Twitter at TheBoardFF. Be sure to give us a like and a subscribe. Got any comments or questions for next week? Hit them in the comments below. Thanks for watching as always, and we will see you next week.